All right, here I go. What a nightmare getting set up. Okay, today I'm looking at Nancy's show. I apologize. I'm using a slightly different format because I learned that. So this usually I get my comics. I download them through, different places online, Library Genesis, Anna's Archive, the library, wherever else. But this comic I could not find, so I actually went through Hoopla, which is a library service. And so if you have a library, your library probably has access to Hoopla. But the point is that apparently I learned that the software OBS that I use and Hoopla somehow has some kind of digital rights management, and they block recording of this. So I had to change from my iPad, which I usually look at, to my desktop. Long story short, nightmare city. Anyways, finally got set up, and then OBS is its own nightmare. Anyways, let's quit complaining. Let's get started with this. Nancy, one of my favorite comic strips of all time, by Ernie Bushmiller. I guess they had a exhibit in, I think, Ohio, Billy Ireland Cartoon Library Museum. Anyways, they put out this booklet, book actually. It's like 150 pages. We're gonna take a look through it right now. The Nancy Show. The thing about Nancy is I've owned a lot of different books, and they always go out of print, and then they go up hugely in price because the people who like Nancy and Ernie Bushmiller, they're like me. They love it, but there's not many of us, so they don't sell out. But I mean, they don't sell well, and then they sell out. They stop printing them, and then they go up. Like I sold. I'll show you the books that I had that I sold. Here's Ernie Bushmiller. So he took over the comic strip Fritzy Ritz in the 1920s, I believe, when he was a pretty young guy. And then at one point, oh wait, why is it in this format? Shit. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this. See, I don't use this normally, so it's kind of a nightmare. Let's see if I can navigate through this. Okay, so he took over Fritzy Ritz, and then he introduced Nancy at some point, and she became more popular. You probably know this if you found this video. Anyways, I just want to show you what this book has. So it has some nice info essays, the historical stuff. If you had the book, The Best of Ernie Bushmiller's Nancy, which was a great book, I think I have a digital file. Maybe I'll look at that at some point. But it has a lot of similar overlap. And then it has like a lot of original art that is like scanned from the originals, and yeah, great stuff. Informative essays. I wasn't really interested in the essays. I've already familiarized myself with his story and so on. There was also, I haven't seen this book, How to Read Nancy. I want to look at it at some point. But I'm more interested in the collections. Fantagraphics began doing collections like 10 years ago, 12 years ago or something. And then, like I said, they didn't sell well, and they're just out of print now. And it doesn't seem like they're going to add more. But keep listening, because there's some exciting news at the end of this book about that, maybe. So there's this kind of funny look at Nancy through the ages to see how she evolved. And in the beginning, there were like storylines, kind of like Little Orphan Annie. And then eventually she became this kind of Neoplatonic device without past, present, or future, and she just kind of floated, and stories were kind of jettisoned. And then these are the newer versions of Nancy that suck, that you don't need to look at. Pretty much the only Nancy I'm interested in is Ernie Bushmiller, and I don't care about all the other artists that have worked on Nancy, including the current artist. I forget her name, Olivia, whatever. I guess it's popular. I'm glad, it brings popularity to Nancy. Maybe it'll help sell the Bushmiller volumes, but probably not. Anyways, I think these strips are taken from some guy's collection, personal collection. So the great thing about this volume is that it has a lot of, it shows his versions, and then it shows the actual printed versions in color. And there's a lot of Nancy memorabilia, which, whatever, it's okay. This is funny because I guess they couldn't name a doll Nancy because somebody else had the trademark, so they call her Slug. They call it Sluggo and Girlfriend, and these dolls look absolutely nothing like Nancy and Sluggo, right? This looks like Bjork. I feel like if they ever make a live action movie of Nancy, which they won't. And also notice how the dolls and the image of the dolls, none of them look like the same. It's like they're all different. Anyways, yeah, memorabilia. Okay, so this is like the bulk of the book, which is I thought was kind of neat because there's a lot of original, like you get to see like in the margins, like Bushmiller will write stuff or somebody wrote stuff, like maybe the editors at the newspaper, I don't know, and just a lot of like you get to actual almost feel the workflow of how it worked back then, and yeah, I like Nancy and Fritzy Ritz. I thought they were both great strips, and I still would love to see them all collected and reprinted. Another comic I was thinking about recently, Mutt and Jeff, who I talked about before. It surprises me that that's never been reprinted in any real way except old comic books. Like I feel like that deserves a complete Mutt and Jeff. So anyways, I'm going to jump through here. One thing that's kind of weird about this book is they just kind of jump around with the years. 1970, 1944, 1970, and then 1950. It's like 1982. It's like, why aren't you putting these in chronological order? That would be so easily. The only kind of cool thing is that you could kind of cover up the date and guess based on the art style. Like this is probably, I'm guessing 40s, late 40s or early 50s. Late 40s, I'm 45. Okay, so I was kind of close. If you know Bushmiller's style, you can kind of guess how old it was and his themes. He seems to do a lot of like hippie and beatnik and poverty themes, like hobo themes in the 60s. Yeah, so I think if you've seen Nancy, I think this is just like a unique thing for Nancy collections, because usually they're reprinted from old newspaper strips, not from the actual photostats of the inked artwork. So in these, you can actually look at her hair and see where he kind of, on the edges, he works finely, but then in the middle, he just globs it in the black. Yeah, unusual Nancy themes. A lot of these strips have been reprinted elsewhere, but it's good to see them again. I mean, it's a nice collection, is what I'm saying. Like, I don't have the actual print edition, but I think it's a nice collection. There were some strips I'd never seen before. And then, let's see, getting into the back of the book. It's just interesting to see how the strip evolved. I learned something that I didn't realize is that, I guess near the end of his life, Bushmiller had, who is it, Al Plastino? Is that the guy's name? I think he was like a Superman artist that kind of was an art assistant to Bushmiller. Yeah, so it's a nice collection, a lot of strips. I think the only other strip, the only collection right now in print I saw was this one called, it's like Nancy and Sluggo's Guide to Life or something like that. I have not been able to find a copy of that, unfortunately. But like I said, this one is on Hoopla, at least at the moment, if you want to read it. I think the actual exhibit is closed. I think it closed in October, so you can't see it even if you are in Ohio or wherever. But this is still available on Hoopla, and you can buy it too if you want. And okay, so what happened? Yeah, so at the back of the book, there's color reprints from newspaper strips, which I thought was nice. You can zoom in on this. I'm just not zooming in because I don't have time and just want to get through it. I noticed at the bottom of this page here it says, "Hear the funnies read on the radio." If you want to have your comic strips read to you, the audiobook version, just unexpected. I kind of like this era Nancy, the really early Nancy is 1933. It just looks so artistically different. And it's like astonishing that, when he worked on Nancy for almost, 50 years, and it's incredible, like, how much, like, work and how steady, like, as a work ethic the guy had, Ernie Bushmiller. I still want to read that Bill Griffith biography. That's probably going to be, I'll look at that soon. Yeah, some trippy strips in here that I'd never seen before. I like seeing it in color too. I think it looks, I would love to see like a nice, like actual recolored cleaned up to really nice looking colors rather than these are just copies off the newspaper. But that's unlikely to happen. But who knows? Oh, so anyways, in the back of the book, so this book is about 150 pages, so it's a pretty nice length book. Although those Fantagraphic ones were coming in at like over 200 pages, I believe. And I think each one collected, was it like 2 years of strips? Did it include Sunday? I think it included Sundays too, if I remember correctly. Oh, so the exciting thing though, at the end of this book, they have this section called Beyond Bushmiller, in which they look at other artists. And this has been done before in that Best of Ernie Bushmiller's Nancy. They look at a lot of these artists, and some of them are kind of nice, like Wally Wood I like, but most of them I don't care about. So these volumes, I had all of these at one point. I sold the bottom three ones. I sold them for altogether over $500, and they cost like $60 originally. So that's astonishing. And they're out of print now. Good luck finding them for under $100 each. But the good thing is, it says over here that, it says in 2025, next year, Fantagraphics will publish new collections of strips. So I don't know if that means they're going to be continuing this series where they were collecting them 2 years at a time, or if it means like more of like the top volumes, which are more just like best of volumes, which it's okay, but I really would love to have these chronological ones like they're doing with Carl Barks. Like they've almost finished all of Carl Barks, which I think it's the first time that they're being reprinted uncensored, because a lot of them they'd reprinted before in different editions, but they would change things and make them a little more PC. But because they would show like natives, and kind of like with Tintin, the same problem. But hopefully, I don't know. I haven't been able to find any more information about how Fantagraphics is going to keep printing Nancy, but hopefully they'll bring these three back into print and continue this format of getting it the complete Nancy. But I don't know. Who knows? Anyways, I'm a huge Nancy buff, as you can probably tell. I've mentioned her numerous times in Bushmiller's A Design Guide. I haven't read this book, How to Read Nancy. It doesn't interest me as much. I mean, I'm just not excited about it, but I'll probably take a look at it at some point. And this is the biography that I mentioned by Bill Griffith that looks great. I like Bill Griffith. It doesn't surprise me that he's a Nancy fan, so I'm looking forward to that. And even Andy Warhol, this bottom right image, did a Nancy image. It's kind of funny. And it's pretty much the end of the book. So a good smattering of strips. And that's it. Like I said, it's available on Hoopla, so check it out and subscribe for more comic look inside comics and more Nancy. See you there.